Hello and welcome to another podcast. I do apologize that we missed last week. I was busy getting myself all prepared for CitizenCon. By the time this releases, I should already be back home from that. Hopefully you guys were keeping up on my socials in the Discord. Get in the Discord. The link is down below. And joining me in all that fun stuff. Most of you guys probably don't care about Star Citizen, but one day you will. One day you will. Also, if you guys are on Spotify, make sure to hit the follow button. If you're over on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. And, of course, leave a comment below who you'd like to see next. Your suggestions have turned into guests before. And just get involved in the discussion. Thank you guys for supporting. But without further ado, let's get to the guest. Let's get on over to Verge, a.k.a. in IRL. He's known as John WIllis. Hello. welcome to the podcast. How you doing, Verge? It's been a while.
I'm good, man. The government name, just throwing it out there.
It's on the internet already, so I don't feel too bad. But I won't use it again. Don't worry.
No, that's okay. I'm just kidding.
It is interesting. I try to use real names just on the intro here, to set the tone about what. I just want to sit back and talk to people. But obviously, we're all known as our gamer tag identities. I talked to Elise about this. I believe it was Elise Hercules. That. It is weird when someone just throws out our real name. Like, it feels off right off the bat, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like, these people are going to be like, John WIllis, who's that?
It's this guy right here. Oh, he likes Pokemon too. Yo, you've been into Pokemon. I'm going to talk about your balls in the back there. What's your whole involvement in the Pokemon world? Like,
So, when I was a kid, my dad, every second Friday of the month, he would come home with one booster pack of Pokemon cards for me. And it was just like something really cool that my dad brought home for me, and I would open. And then I got into Yu-Gi-Oh cards really big as a kid. I played Yu-Gi-Oh a lot. I collected them. And then I remember making the conscious decision as a kid of like, okay, I'm only getting one booster pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards or one booster pack of Pokemon cards.
No, the hard choice.
And I was like, I play way more Yu-Gi-Oh. I've never played Pokemon. I just collect them. Yu-Gi-Oh is going to be way bigger in the future. Everybody's going to play it. So I made the decision as a kid to collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards instead.
Oh, no.
And then I'm like, oh my God, Pokemon cards are blowing up. Everybody's getting them. Da 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 da. And then I started getting on my TikTok For You page live streams of those booster pack openings where like people order them and they open them on live and then send them, they ship them to them. And it was like, I was like, man, this looks like so much fun opening these. So I just started ordering booster boxes, like the box of like 30 packs retail or whatever. Yeah. Yep. Because I was like, I'm not gonna buy one or two boosters and like maybe get something or maybe waste my money. I'm like, I'd rather just drop the money on a whole box and and guarantee like one or two good cards or something
out of it.
Yeah. So I started doing that. That was 2021 or 2022. Whenever I was with Heroic, I remember that's when I started. And now I just have like I've stopped buying them as much, and now I just have like a big long box of like all my best cards in the what are they, top loaders, those like plastic hard cases. And it was so much fun opening stuff. I actually ordered a couple booster packs off Amazon for something and got back to back in two of the packs, like two Charizard cards, and was like freaking out about it. But yeah, so now I just have like this collection of cards that's sitting, and I haven't added to it in a while, but it's just sitting right back there with all the other stuff I have Pokemon related.
So a few questions on that. One, what is the, because when I don't pay attention too much to the card stuff. When I was growing up, obviously Charizard was the card to have, and is that still one of the top, or like what's the top like most expensive or rare cards now?
I think it's Charizards. They're the most in demand. I think the most expensive card was a Charizard that sold or whatever. It's like the original first edition Charizard. So yeah, when you pull a Charizard, it's like every time I Google it, it's usually worth like a little bit of money, at least like $10, $20 or something.
Okay. I wasn't sure because when I was a kid, Charizards were going for like $200.
The ones that I pulled were from a series where it was like a reprint of the first edition. And so I got the two Charizards back to back, and I looked it up, and like obviously I don't know what condition they're in, but if you get them PSA certified and they're like 9 or 10s, they're like $500 each.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but
Does it
I don't
cost
know.
money to get it certified?
Yeah,
Oh,
I was gonna
okay.
say it costs some money to get them certified, so I don't know what the net profit is on that, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're worth some money if they're like graded in good condition.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. I'm very curious because I have Pokemon cards, and
Mm.
I do want to go back through my binder because I got them all in the binder with the sleeves and everything. And I'm very curious if I have anything that is worth anything. Do you view these cards now as like a long-term investment, or do you just plan on keeping them for forever?
I mean, I figured I'm probably gonna pass them down to my kid or something because I doubt they'll be worth enough in my lifetime for it to be like, oh yeah, let me sell them and like invest the money into something or whatever. Like, I probably have like maybe close to $1,000 in cards if I were to get them like graded and certified and sold. I just figure it's probably gonna be a better story for me to hand them down to my kid one day.
Right, that'd be cool. So, oh man, you got. Look at this man's already big plan in the future right now. Let's. I'm barely making it day to day, man. What's the life of Verge right now? Because obviously we're sitting, in the world of Rocket League at least, we're sitting in this weird off season, and then in the world of esports, we're sitting in this everything is shrinking budget wise. So it's this weird space to exist in, specifically in Rocket League, being not knowing what's happening. So what's been this time right now for Verge?
It has been kind of like a kick in the butt, like a reminder that what we're doing isn't certain. It's not. It's like we're kind of paving a way in an industry that's just unexplored, and it's obviously like we're not the first people to be in esports, but esports is still in its infancy, where like the people that are in it are still kind of figuring everything out as they go. And I think one of the biggest mistakes I made was when I got to work with Heroic, and from then on, I stopped focusing on my YouTube channel because I was so hell bent on the success we had at Dignitas and getting back to that position. I was like, all right, everything else is going on hold until I'm, finding success in RLCS again because I'm competitive. I want to win. I want to be the best.
It's not like that's a mistake to do in the time either, right? Like you have a thing that's going well. You dedicate it. You show I'm going to work towards this. So it's only in retrospect you're like, oh, should I have done others?
Yeah,
but it's not like that was a bad decision to make.
In hindsight, yeah. In the moment, I'm like, okay, you know what? My for the first time, my salary is increasing competitively because on Dignitas I was an unproven rookie, so I was on like a rookie level contract. And then once I had that success and we got a new organization, and I was with Heroic, I was able to leverage my past success in the negotiations and get a better salary. So I'm like, okay, I'm making more money from competitive, so let me just full focus on it because maybe this is the route to keep getting those bump ups. And yeah, in hindsight, it's like, okay, well, the competition is never guaranteed. Especially if my career typically relies on the results of other people, right? Like I'm working with players and I don't play on game day, so their results determine my like level of success.
Which is hard to have it just out of it. Yeah. That's why people say coaching is the most stressful role because everything's out of your hands.
Yeah, everything. So I always say, like, when I'm working with a team is, practice is mine, game day is yours. I'm here to prepare you, but it's your job on game day to show up, and I can't do anything for you except for encourage you and throw out, hey, the opponents are doing this, we can do that, like just ideas. But it's never, this is what's going to work. It's you're the player, you know better. You're going to figure it out better than I can. I'm just here to help. So yeah, it's always out of your hands on game day. So yeah, in hindsight, I'm like, okay, well, content would have been the thing to keep as the backup because that was my plan going into it. When I was coaching before Dignitas, I was just doing YouTube, and at the time it was Gamers Ready. Now it's Metafy, and I was doing that full time. I was getting way too many bookings. I was coaching for 9-10 hours straight a day, and I had to like block off every Sunday to have a day off because people were booking. So, because my at the time my tutorials were doing really well, and people were getting a lot of they were getting a lot of views. People were seeing, oh, he's coaching. Let me work with him. And so my YouTube channel is like, okay, my YouTube channel is going to be my backup, my exit from competitive one day. What I do to kind of retire from the competitive and have something steady. And so yeah, in hindsight, I wish I kept up with it, but now I'm getting back into it. this off season has really reminded me like how uncertain the industry is, and so how important it is to have that kind of plan
Your
B.
own product.
Yeah, exactly. Something that doesn't rely on anybody but me.
Yeah.
So
Which is hard because
yeah,
like I've talked to people even about this, like the content, you still are almost relying on other people because your source of revenue is advertising. And we hit, this deep recession, that starts pulling back. All of a sudden your CPMs drop, and it's so hard in the world of entertainment to be self-reliant because your product almost always relies on someone else. And I've been asking a million people about this, and I don't know if you all have a solution either, but it's like, what do you do as someone, like, again, you see it sometimes with Mr. Beast, who's started, they're selling chocolate or burgers or whatever, like diversifying the product. I mean, esports orgs, what is their product? It's merch, right?
yeah.
So I guess they're clothing companies, like they're merch companies. So what is the product and what is your product? And it's really hard. I mean, selling a service is much better, and this is why coaching stuff is really nice because you have a service now. That is your product. It doesn't matter if there's advertisers. You can still provide a service. So services are good, but entertainment, it's really hard. Like what besides diversifying, how do you make sure you're safe because the ad revenue is gone?
Yeah, I mean, you really can't. I watched I can't remember where it was, but I saw this guy. He was speaking on how to make it like nowadays in the entertainment industry, in the content industry, and he said, and you see all the big, you mentioned it, Mr. Beast, like all the biggest names are doing their marketing, which is their YouTube channel, their content, and then their product, what they're selling.
Right.
Because you have your own marketing essentially if you have a stream of views. And it's free marketing. You get to put your product in the videos for free. So it's free marketing, and then you have the product that sells. And so for me, that's like you said, the service of coaching. But even then, it's still difficult because selling your time, selling by the hour, you're limited to how much time you have. So it's not like with a product, if I get 1,000 sales in a day, I could still get 2,000 sales the next day. Yeah. With coaching. It's okay, I can sell 5 hours today, and I only have 5 hours again tomorrow, and then I only have 5 hours again the next day.
Unless you're outsourcing your service, but then it's not you coaching, right? You can't really do it.
And I've thought about that. I want to create some kind of I don't know if it's I've done a course before. I don't know if courses really hit it off in Rocket League, or if there's just a stigma around courses being kind of a cash grab and not really valuable, but I spent 2 years building a course back in 2019. I think I released it around 2020. It was 2018, 2019. I was like really, it was like 30-page, 40-page long course that we turned into like the courses where you go through and it has like quizzes, videos of me talking about subjects and stuff. And I thought it was really cool, a cool concept. It didn't do too great. I mean, it still casually makes a sale here or there every other month. But I've thought about doing like seminars where instead of selling an hour of one-on-one time, I sell a way cheaper discounted, like, there's 10 of us in a call and we work on replays together. And that way it's like exponential for my time instead of just one person one-on-one by the hour. So, okay, I can get 10 people in for cheaper and kind of, get 10 hours of time squeezed into one.
Right. I mean, it's good you're thinking about this too, because like sometimes people just accept the limitation and be like, okay, this is what I make. But you're trying to, within the niche, even diversify the revenue streams, which is just kind of saying it's good that you're thinking about that, even.
Yeah. And I've thought about reaching out to some other coaches, but everybody's so focused on competitive, and I get it because I'm the same way. I was the same way for a long time. Now I'm starting with something like this where the industry is kind of showing some kickbacks. I'm like, okay, let's kind of figure something out in this scenario where competitive is no longer viable for people like me.
Right.
So I'm trying to see if I can get together some other coaches where we can put together kind of a almost like a class or a system of a program. I guess a program would be the word for it, where we can come in and we can take 20, 30 people and run them through a 3 or 4 week course or something, 2 or 3 times a year. And it's like, okay, during the off season, yeah, exactly. Like, okay, during the competitive season, coaches are focused on competitive, but during the off season, we offer this program that is only available during the off season. This is, the only time we have the time to do it. Maybe get some other coaches involved and get them some extra revenue in the off season. But
that's the thing. If you can show them that they're okay, here's a potential income, that will help. But if they don't know what they're going into, it's hard to convince people.
Yeah, and I think it's also like coaches in Rocket League are not like players in the sense that players, they share ideas. Like they're really, really open to, hey, it's not even like consciously, hey, let's share ideas. It's more like, hey, let's play ranked together, and then you're kind of like learning from each other without realizing it. Sharing ideas, sharing play styles. But in coaching, it's very like hush hush. No coaches talk to each other. Yeah. You're not going to give each other ideas. You're not going to work on strategies together.
It's competitive. There's limited spots, and you all want it.
And what I really want to do, that I've been thinking about for a long time, that I've been trying to get every organization I've worked with on board with, and it's just so difficult to, because like you said, it's competitive. But I've been coaching in EU, and I haven't worked in the North American scene in 5 years. And even then, when I was coaching on Allegiance, it was my first break, and the players didn't really listen to me. So I didn't really coach. It was more of like an opportunity for me to learn from the scrims and kind of build my skill set as a coach more than it was me coaching. But
that was back when like no one really kind of knew what was going on with coaching, right?
Yeah, I was the first at the time. I was when Allegiance brought me on full time to be the coach. I was the first full time coach in Rocket League that was like they moved me out to Texas, where I was living, eating, and breathing Rocket League coaching.
Right.
So it was a very, very untapped position. People still had the stigma of coaches are just friends who come along for the ride because the players want to have their friends with them. But I took it very serious, and I think I was a meme for a little while until I kind of proved myself with Dignitas. And once I proved myself with Dignitas, at least in the European scene, I got a lot more respect from players. I have a lot of players who tell me they respect what I do in the European scene. And again, I'm not very networked in North America because of my career's kind of been in Europe. But what I've been thinking about doing is, because coaches are so limited to what they can share, is I feel like we should have a European coach and an NA coach kind of collaborate with each other, where because you see it in professional sports, they have teams large enough to do like private scrims, where it's not like we're scrimming another team. We have to respect their time and take it seriously, play to win, so that they are doing the same thing. Because I think it's really valuable to get time where you're saying, okay, the defense we know is going to do this because we're going to tell them to do it. They're going to run a simulation, and then we're going to simulate offenses against that. So I've thought about maybe a North American team and a European team. We work together and say, hey, today we want you guys to ball chase in scrims because we're trying this to respond to ball chasing. Gotcha. Or, hey, we want you guys to play super passive because we're trying this. And kind of, give each other the game plans and simulate and test things.
Right.
And have that where we can run ideas by each other and see how they go with another perspective, somebody who's just as valuable, their perspective's just as valuable. And then you're not directly competing against each other during the season. It's just when you get to the international events where it's like, okay, now we're competing against each other. But even then, how often are we going to run into each other where it becomes a conflict? Like we might see each other once in the tournament, and sure, we might know each other a little bit better than other teams, but for the majority of our games, 99% of our games, we're never going to see each other.
Well, that, and also, like if I'm playing against a team and we tell them to ball chase, I still am not getting a good idea of how they're actually going to play, right? So it's not like it's really that problematic in the sense of like, ooh, now everyone knows how we play, because you're running specific scenarios.
Yeah. And again, we see that in traditional sports because you have like the whole bench lineup of players to replace your first string that are all good enough to play, but aren't the star players. And we don't have that in Rocket League, because if you're good enough to play, you're not going to sit on the bench for a team. You're going to go find a different team that's going to play. So yeah, until we get to a point in Rocket League where maybe it's franchising or whatever it is, where we have the ability to say, here's our starting lineup. Here's the people who are good enough to play as our second string, but they didn't get the opportunity on a first string somewhere else. And we can afford to pay their salary while they're sitting second string, because then you can have, your own team to scrim against, where you can run those simulations and scenarios that they do in professional sports, where it's okay, we know the offense is running this play, we know the defense is running this play. Now we get the opportunity to push the limits of something against a team we know that's trying to counter it. And I think that's something you don't get in scrims against other teams when you're just playing to win against each other, or everybody's, you know, trying to give each other a good scrim. It makes sense, but you don't get those. How can we break the rules of the game, or how can we break out from the traditional ways of playing against these play styles?
It takes a lot of collaboration, though. Like, that's not easy to get, because I mean, there's already the atmosphere, maybe in some regions more than other, of people not taking scrim seriously. I think that's going to change now that, like, there's a fire lit under a lot of people's butt, especially North America, given that's what it is now. People are scared because they're seeing what's happening.
They saw what Europe saw what Europe did.
So I think you're gonna have a lot more people, I guess, receptive to that level of collaboration, but it's still gonna take a bit of coordination to get both, first off, a coach on another team, then all the players to understand the concept of what you're trying to do there.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going to take, like, I think if once you get one team doing it, I think it'll catch on, but getting that first team, I think, is going to be a hurdle.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's unproven in esports, at least, or at least in Rocket League. I don't know if other esports are doing it, but you know, in traditional sports, it's proven. Obviously, they know what they're doing because they're the best of the best in their respective sport. So, but it's always difficult to do something new, and I've learned that by doing, because in Rocket League, again, there wasn't many coaches, and it's not easy to go against the crowd when everybody's pushing one direction, and it's like, well, I want to do this differently. You know, it's hard to get people on your side because they just see you getting trampled over by the norm.
Yeah.
So but I think, you know, we did it in the past on Dignitas. You know, I came onto that team and I gave them kind of a set play style that we followed, and nobody else was doing that at the time. It was more of just you know, playing as we go, figuring it out, improving, and then just playing naturally. And I came onto the team and I was like, hey, this is something that I've been studying for a while. I've been putting it together. It's a theory. And I really think if we put it into practice, it'll work. And I got, at the time it was Panda. I got Panda to buy in, and his teammates respected him a lot. So they bought in. And then once it worked, it was like, okay, Dignitas is doing something right. They're doing something different, obviously. What is it? And then I made the mistake of putting out my rotation video that went in depth on everything we did on Dignitas. But I think I was just a little too cocky, because my players even said something. They were like, yo, what is this? Like, you just put out our whole playbook. And I was like, we're so far ahead. We've been doing it for so long. We can hand everybody our playbook and we'll still beat them at it.
I mean, it's a good way to recover it, but at the same time.
So yeah, and then I got a message from Gregan, and he was like, oh my God, this rotation video, I just showed it to my players. There's some concepts in here I've been trying to illustrate to them that I haven't been able to visualize, and this video does it perfect. Thank you so much. We're using this. And I was like, oh shit, these guys are yeah, I was like Vitality. Oh no. And then
started.
Yeah, and then you see all of season 9, the next season, Vitality had our number. They were the team that was predicting our passing lanes. They were the team that was shutting down our coordination. And then in the finals, we flipped the script on them. We did exactly what I said, which is like, we can hand them our playbook and we'll outplay them still. I think it clicked. It was like, well, they know everything we're doing, so why don't we flip the script? Why don't we just do the opposite? Let's keep giving them the idea that we're passing. Right. Let's set up the passing lanes, but then go solo instead. Yeah. And so you even see in that finals, if you go back and watch it, they're pre-diving passes to leave the net open, and we're just throwing it in the net for free. Right. But yeah, it was something different, and it was hard to get them on board. It was really difficult, especially Astral, for example, who was an incredibly talented player, who way better than I'll ever be at the game. And I'm sitting here telling him, hey, don't do what you think you should do. Do what I think you should do. Right, yeah. And he's a good kid. He respected me in the sense of like, okay, he's my coach. He didn't want to do the things that we made him do, but he still did them, and it worked. And then once it worked, you know, he came to me at Worlds and said, like, you know, some of that, the Worlds in Texas just recently, the BDS one, he came to me and was like, hey, there's some things that I used to give you a hard time in scrims about that now on my teams, I'm having them do because it worked. Yeah, so that's good. It was really nice to get that back, but it's hard to get people on board. But then once you prove it, it's like, you know, obviously this is going to work. Why not?
But how does so on a I guess a deeper, more emotional, personal side, how does it feel then, like, knowing that the things that you've implemented are good, have worked, and then still finding it difficult to find a spot in the space, being shifted around so much? I mean, obviously part of that is just the esport right now is turbulent in itself, right? So inherently everyone is feeling it. does it ever feel like, I imagine it's hard sometimes being like, why am I having to figure out anything right now? It should just be coming because I've been doing good work.
Yeah, I definitely, especially recently, have been feeling a bit of imposter syndrome where it's like, I thought that I was doing what is going to work. I thought I knew what I was doing, and then it's not working, and suddenly it's like, well, do I really know what I'm doing, or did I just get lucky? And I think it was Heroic that really taught me that, because we came from the success on Dignitas, and when we replaced Astral with Jorez, Panda and Yukio still knew the playstyle in and out. And so when Jorez came on, we were having to kind of catch him up. And that was when we transitioned from the regular RLCS league play to the RLCS X, like 30 matches a day,
Right.
The transition in format. And I just don't think that playstyle that we had developed was built for that. And it took me too long to realize, because when we picked up Jorez, I was like, okay, well, the problem isn't the playstyle. The problem is Jorez isn't filling the role because he's not caught up yet. And then we replaced Yukio with Appjack, and then it was the same thing. I was like, okay, we kind of got Jorez caught up, but now it's Appjack that's not fitting the role. And so for a long time, I think I was just pushing this idea of this worked in the past, so it's going to work now. And then when I went to Heroic, I was like, okay, Jack and Jorez, they weren't quite caught up. We can build a new team and catch them up. And so then we built the team with Tho and Oli, and it was kind of working, but just not enough. And we were getting some pushback from Tho on how to play. So okay, Tho's not filling his role, so we're gonna replace him with we picked up Yukio, and then I was like, okay, great, Yukio again. He knows what we're doing. And so it was a long stint, and then we replaced Oli with Nosaki, and nothing was working. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing what I was doing before that was working. And I think it just took me too long to realize that I was like so caught up in what I did in the past worked. I just got to keep doing it. I stopped myself from kind of evolving
innovating and moving forward.
Yeah. And that kind of reminded me, like, I am a student of the game. That's what my position is. It's my job to constantly learn the ins and outs of every single detail of the game, all the evolution. And I just got stuck in this. It worked. It's going to work. So that was kind of the humbling experience. And I think that time at Heroic is kind of what put me in the position where it's like teams aren't looking to pick me up right away, because it's like, okay, well, I had success with Dignitas, but then right afterwards with Heroic, we failed to make any of that. We made one regional the entire season. So I think that kind of cast a shadow on my success, and was like, okay, well, he was good in league play. He's not good in this format. But I think getting to have worked with Evil Geniuses, and being in that mindset of like making the mistakes I made on Heroic and realizing that I got a little arrogant. I needed to re-humble myself and become a student of the game again. When I joined Evil Geniuses, I came to them and said, hey guys, like, I have ideas, but I want to learn from you, more than it was, hey guys, this is what's going to work. It was, hey guys, let's figure out what's going to work. Right. And so we built these ideas on Evil Geniuses and these concepts that we found were really successful. And we were finding success. We were doing well. And I think the Carmine Corp matchup of us getting just kind of creamed by Carmine Corp every time we matched up against them, until the one time where we kind of figured it out and we took it to them and almost beat them. So it's easy to say like, oh, we still lost, but what we did worked.
We were learning.
We had ideas, and I feel like at the time we were the first team to really make Carmine Corp look weak for at least a couple games.
Right.
And that felt good. I was like, you know what? Maybe I haven't lost my touch. Maybe as long as I just remind myself I'm a student of the game, and it's not, I don't have it figured out. I should always be figuring it out. That's got me in a position where I'm improving as a coach.
It changes. I mean, it was kind of mirrored by Chronovion a couple episodes ago, and he was saying too, just he knew the game plan with Rogue, what they needed to do, but he also knew it wasn't a lasting play style, right? He's like, hey, this will work right now, but past this it won't. Let's scrape by, because he knew that the format changes change the way you need to approach it as well. And it seems like you kind of hit a similar thing. Once that format change happened, the way you needed to play was going to have to shift and move, and how you approached it, because getting more games against teams means they have more chances to figure you out, which means you need to have more in your playbook to pull out against them in different scenarios. So it feels like a similar concept to what he was saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And in league play, you're only playing 7 different teams. At least that's how, it was the 8 teams. So you're playing 7 different teams.
And like very few games too.
And you only played them once. And it was like, okay, well, we're just going to play each team once, even if they've got us figured out. If we execute well enough, and we're on the same page more than they're on the same page, even if they know what we're going to do as a team, we're going to execute better.
Right.
Things will go in our favor. But now it's like, okay, we have to play. You never know who you're playing, and you're going to play a different team every single first round of the tournament. And then it's like, okay, from then on, you're playing a different team every second round and a different team every third round. And it went from 7 matches in your season to like 7 matches a day. And it was and it was like, obviously what we were doing wasn't working. We had to change for a more statistically risk-free play style. And it just took me too long to catch on. And then once I switched over to EG and was doing that with them, I kind of put that focus on statistically consistent, and so that's why we played super defensive. You see, like, everybody was like, oh, EG's so boring to watch because they just play so safe and this and that. I'm like, it doesn't matter how you play if it's entertaining or not. Like, we're here to win. I'm sorry,
you guys don't give a crap about the show. It's about winning.
Yeah, like I want the gameplay to be entertaining for people because Rocket League is fun to watch. But at the end of the day, my job is to win. My job is to help my team win. Their job is to win on the day. So we were boring to watch because we were predictable. We played so safe and so defensive. It was like 1-goal games, but at the end of the day, like we were pushing for a play style that was, let's allow 0 goals and score 1, and that's how we win.
It was like Veloce too, right? I mean, everyone hated that, but like they got to Worlds,
right?
Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
If it works, why would you stop it?
Yeah, hate us or love us, like sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is interesting how, because I feel like VOD reviews were more valuable for the immediate return back in the day before like the X era, because again, you if you're only playing a team once in a season, looking at them, reviewing that VOD could net you a win on that weekend. Whereas now it's like, okay, well, I'm going to play this team 3 times. I'm going to figure them out by playing them. Is that VOD review less valuable? And I feel like VOD's reviews were, again, as I said, more valuable for the immediate return in the pre-X era. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I mean, I think I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think the wording is a bit different than how I would put it. Is I think VOD reviews of the opponents were more valuable back then than they are today.
Yes, that's what
so yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I've always been a big like pusher of like on Dignitas, we did replays every day without exception. Yeah. It was 2 hours of scrims and then 2 hours of replays afterwards every single day. Because I was like, even if we're improving 0.5% from that VOD review, like let's just stack it up every single day and get that 0.5% every single day. And it's been difficult to get players on board because I got to give credit to Panda. He was really mature when I started working with him. He essentially was a coach who was a player. And so he understood the value of having a coach and going through these replays and spending this much time doing like coaching specific stuff. So it was really easy to get anybody on a team that he was on to buy in because the captain of the team was bought in. So we're just going to follow suit from the captain. But yeah, getting new players, like when I joined Evil Geniuses, it's difficult to be like, hey guys, I know that you guys never do replays. Now we're going to do replays every single day. And for players, that can be tough, especially for young players because they've got school, they've got other stuff going on.
They've
and
also
especially
got teenager brain. They can't focus that long.
Yeah, like their mental maturity is not quite where it needs to be for it to be a professional environment in most cases. And so a lot of times they just view it as, oh, this is a game that I really enjoy and I'm good enough to get paid to do it. I know what I'm doing. I'm having fun. Let me just keep doing it. And then all of a sudden you get this guy who's like never been a pro, isn't pushing top 100 right now and is like, all right, guys, we're going to do this in a way that doesn't sound fun at all. Like, let's make this as boring as possible. Right, yeah. So it can be difficult to get those new players to buy in, but again, once you show them results from it, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, I think like the tone for coaching has definitely shifted, though. I mean, there's a lot more respect being thrown on coaches' names, especially in the past couple of years, and especially given what Farah's done in the space recently too. I feel like that was a huge moment for the position of coaching too, because what a coach is capable of. The
impact,
scope is so much huger now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people look at coaching as very one-dimensional, but there's so many different ways you can approach it. Like you said, like Farah proved that it's a coach isn't just there to do gameplay or just there to be a hype man. Like he literally turned the crowd in his team's favor and got them to hype him up. And it's like you have no idea what a crowd can do for you at a
They could
LAN
have
event
lost if you
yeah,
didn't do that.
never been on a stage with the crowd, you have no idea the impact that a crowd has by getting behind you. In season 8, when we made Worlds and we were in that longest overtime against Vitality, hearing the crowd going Dignitas, like it was just like everybody in this room wants us to win. Like let's keep fighting, let's keep pushing, and it's like it's so easy to give up if you're against that. Versus if it's behind you, it's like, why would we ever give up? Like never stop fighting, just keep pushing. So yeah, a huge impact you can have in so many different areas as a coach, not just one dimensional at all.
It's going to get harder and harder with the audiences, especially with these European audiences now with the ultras and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's insane, dude. I can't even imagine playing with that behind me. That's just I'm scared. Like if we ever make a LAN event, I would be terrified of playing Carmine Corp in any European crowd. There's just no way. Yeah.
Like there's no way you're gonna win a series with the entire crowd just screaming for the other team. I mean, obviously you can, but it's tough.
Well, in Vitality now, with their crew doing it, I wonder if we're gonna see a lot more of that evolve. And I wonder if Sonics is just like, okay, no more North American lands. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, the Texas one, like, I get it. Everybody's there to see their favorite team, but like, I just don't understand how you can spend that much time and that much money on going to see a Rocket League tournament and not staying for every second of it. Like,
especially for
leaving.
For
Leaving early just because it's 2 European teams. I'm like, okay, my team didn't make it to the grand finals, but like, we're still about to see some of the best Rocket League we've ever seen.
Yeah, so. and that's the question is like, you know what? Is it better for the scene to shift towards, okay, people being super fans or just being relative fans of the game? Because if you're a super fan, you get your ultras. You get those really hardcore, intense matches with an amazing audience, but then you're going to lose the aspect of, hey, Carmine Corp gets knocked out in Rotterdam and half of their people leave, right? So what is better ultimately, the super loud crowds or a full audience the whole time?
Yeah, I'm glad they're not tasking me with solving that. I have so much respect for the team at Sonics, the esports team, because they always put on like incredible shows. They're always so hospitable to the players and the talent when they qualify and stuff. So I don't know. It's got to be such a team effort to accomplish those things, and I couldn't fit a role anywhere in there. There's no way.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting thought of how the audience aspect of it's going to go forward, and that makes me wonder if it's better if we do eventually sometime. Obviously, not right now with recession and everything. There won't be budget for it, but like having individual days for matchups. I mean, imagine day or like whatever it is, this championship Sunday is just the two teams, and and I wonder, like, I'm just theory crafting. Is it better if you have just two teams? Imagine it's Vitality, K Corp, final day, scheduled match, 3:00 in the afternoon. They're going to play a best of 7 or make it a best of 9. I don't know, whatever, but make it a best of 7. And in between each game, you take a 2-minute break. Does that ruin the flow of things? Does that make it better? Because now analysts can then break down what happened in game 1. What will we see in game 2? You could do a quick drawing board. You give a little bit more time for the coaches and teams to figure it out. You could make it a spectacle, or do you just play it through? But I don't know. What do you think about having it just these are the two teams that you see on that day?
Yeah, I think following kind of what Riot does with League of Legends is a good example. Like they have and I think it's difficult because Rocket League is such a fast game. 5 minutes is so short.
That's why I offered do we take a break to make this a 2-hour event?
So I think the only way that we could find a way to do like a one matchup day would be like a best of 5 of best of 7s. Like you do a best of 7. You take a break. you take an hour break or whatever it is, because I know in League of Legends that's what they do. They're doing a best of 5 or whatever it is. they play their match, and then they go backstage, they chill out for 30 minutes, they
Yeah.
come back out for the second match.
Right.
And that, league games are 30 to 60 minutes long, so it's easier to justify that. And so I think that's kind of the solution with Rocket League, is like, give us a best of 5 or something, and then take a break, come back to another best of 5, give us a break, come back to another, and make it a best of 5 of best of 5s or something. And that way, like, if we're looking for that, I think it could work. It's like, okay, well, today is going to be just Karmine Corp versus Vitality all day today. It's going to be some sick games. It's going to be awesome. And then, like you said, in between each matchup, it's okay. We see the analysts are talking about how that matchup went, and they're talking about how the coaches are going to make adjustments behind the scenes, and then how is Vitality going to come out and respond to that best of 5 that they just played and lost, or whatever it is. So I think I could be pretty hype if you find a way to give it like 2 or 3 full hours of Rocket League matches broken up by stuff in between.
I feel like the first way for that to ever be proven, though, like, it's not going to happen just suddenly in the RLCS. Like, I feel like someone else has to do a show match in that style.
Yeah.
Like K Corp set up a thing with another team, do a show match, and say, okay, let's try this format out and see how everyone enjoys it. Was it entertaining? Should we just never do this again? I think someone has to do that first.
Yeah, it's got to be experimented with, and before it comes to the official broadcast of RLCS. But I don't know. I think Psyonix could do it if they sponsored another tournament from another organizer or something. I think, but yeah, it would have to be that organizer coming to them and saying, "Hey, this is the format we're gonna try."
Right.
So yeah, I don't think it'll ever just show up in RLCS.
I'm curious how do you think, just getting an insight into players, how do you think they'll feel about having those breaks? I feel, and I could just be ignorant here, having only played like 10 to 15 games of League of Legends. I feel like League of Legends is more of a prep work game. Like you can have a game plan going, whereas Rocket League is more of a flow state kind of game. Not that flow state doesn't exist for players once they're playing the game in League of Legends, but in Rocket League, a lot of it really is that, where is your headspace at? Because and those breaks can obviously break that flow state. Do you feel like Rocket League players might not be too attuned with that, or do you think they'd be okay with those breaks?
I think it's going to be an adjustment if that were to happen. It would definitely take some getting used to from the players, but I think that as the gameplay evolves the way that it has been, you and I talked like briefly about the rotation video I'm working on. It's like 7 pages long. And I'm still working. There's still more to work on it. Yeah. I'm going over, not that there are set rotations to follow, but there are essentially set formations that I see happening in Rocket League, whether it's subconscious or conscious, like if they're intentionally doing it or not.
Right.
I think most of it's unintentional, but if you look across like every pro team, they're falling into one of these 3 formations at any given moment, because they're the 3 formations that are like the most efficient as far as coverage goes and pressuring the opponents. So I think as people become more aware of that, we might see like, and we were using it on EG. I was working with them. That's how we took it to Karmine Corp, and then they made a change that we just didn't adapt to quick enough. But it was, hey, this is the formation they tend to fall into. This is the formation that best counters it. Now, it's not this formation makes you do this and you always do this every single time. It's these are the options this formation gives you, and as a player, you have to decide which option is the best in that moment. So there is some like chalkboard strategy going into Rocket League starting to come up. And I think as the game gets deeper and deeper in skill, and the skill ceiling keeps rising and players get more consistent as teams, we're going to start seeing more of a necessity for, hey, this is how they play. This is what best counters that as far as formations go. Now you just, in that moment, your flow state, you figure out exactly what it is you have to do to execute in that moment. But yeah, I think that would give an opportunity for, hey, this series they played, and I noticed like they were doing this a lot, and this is how we can punish it. So let's go into game 1 with this, and then see how they respond. And as players, like in that moment, you have to adapt to their response. So, but in League of Legends, right, like you can say, let's focus on getting bottom side map control for the whole game.
Right.
And then you can go into the game and follow that game plan. But in Rocket League, like you said, it's just so live. There's just no time for you to stop and think, all right, what's the best strategy here? Can we figure it out? But in between games, I think there's definitely opportunity for that. And I would love to see a format like you're talking about give that opportunity to coaches to make those adjustments. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, we see this team came in and played this way and just got hammered. And then all of a sudden game 2, they're playing totally different after the 30-minute break. What did they talk about?
All right, I'll set up the show match then, and we'll see how it goes. It's intriguing. So, like for you, you think that we're nearing a future where the whiteboard plays or chalkboard plays are going to be more prevalent, but it's in the Rocket League style of like, okay, at 10 seconds from now, different chalkboard play, different whiteboard play. 10 seconds from then, it's a different play, but these are patterns you can start to look for. Do you think this will allow the age to rise? Because obviously a lot of it right now is subconscious. Players, as you said yourself, probably don't even realize they're doing this stuff. And a lot of it's flow state, and a lot of it is that just natural teenager instinct that's happening. And as you get older, you start to overthink things, you start to hesitate, and you start to get slower as a result. Do you think having these potential set plays that you could look out for, formations you could look out for, could allow an older player to start extending their career if they can be conscious of these setups?
I think the only thing standing between older players and extending their careers is their mechanical capabilities. Because I think in Rocket League, we're seeing it nowadays. It's like the best players in the world are ones players coming into the scene to an experienced team. Yeah. So it's like you have this mechanical player who can do anything and everything, and you put them on a roster with a team who knows how to support that player, and they flourish. So I don't think older players will ever be able to come back into kind of relevance just off of game sense. Right, I think if you're going to keep your career alive, it has to be mechanical, because I think it's so much easier to teach somebody game sense and get them on the same page with rotation and decision making than it is to be like, hey, go sit down for 12 hours a day and grind out this mechanic until you're perfect at it.
Right.
So I don't know if strategy will ever keep older players relevant. I think it's always going to be about the young, innovative mechanical players kind of pushing the limits of the game.
Then what about the players we do have in the scene now? Do you think things like this will help them extend their careers for the players that are 16, 17 right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if you're coming in at the peak of like the mechanical, like for example, Zen, I think, and obviously I've never worked with him, I've never spoken to him, right. But just from watching him, he's an incredible team player. Like he didn't just come in.
Too. He's not just mechanical, he's smart.
Yeah, he didn't come in and was just like, I'm going to get every ball and do something with it. It's like we see him very picky about what plays he's going for, very picky about his positioning, what he's using boost for. And so, I think if he continues that, his career is going to be really long, but it takes that selflessness to be able to see that bigger picture and recognize like 3v3 is not 3 individuals versus 3 individuals. It is one team versus another. And so I always compare 1v1s and 3v3s. They're very similar because as a 1v1 player, you're looking to accomplish the same thing in a threes game. You're just looking to accomplish it as a unit with 2 other people rather than by yourself.
Yeah. So you have to make sure that every piece is, I always envision it as a, triangulate the 3 players. That's the cloud. That's the space they operate in. And obviously their reach extends a little bit outside that triangle, but look at it as a cloud. This is how I envision when I played Call of Duty as well, because spawns were basically based off of that. So you could
manipulate spawns
based off your team's positioning. And I've always kind of looked at Rocket League a little bit the same too. When you get that bird's eye, like, okay, what is the control sphere of this team? And then as a unit, make sure you're controlling these certain spaces.
Yeah, I had a plugin that I had built for that exact reason on Dignitas when I was working with them, because the formation that we went with, the rotations, all of that was based on how as a unit we're covering certain spaces, and the plugin would put a circle around each car, but when we were in close enough proximity to each other, it would then, instead of having 2 individual circles, it would combine them over the players and have one larger circle to show you this is where these 2 players are covering as a unit. And then when the third person comes in, yeah, exactly. The third player would come in, and when they were in proximity, it would make it even larger and show that there's just one circle that the team occupies, and it's really big across the map rather than these 3 little individual circles. And we went over this thing where if I made it so that if you got so far away from your teammates, you broke off into your own circle, and it showed the gap between your individual circle and the team circle.
That's cool.
And so we were able to like hammer it into the players. Look, this is a moment where you're going as an individual player. You're not contributing to the team's coverage. You're now contributing to an individual play here. And we were able to like hammer in this idea of the players started recognizing this is too far. I have to stay within this range because we were in that bird's eye view. And then when they got on the field, they started feeling that distance a little bit more consistently.
Yeah, and I guess and as is everything in Rocket League, I'm sure there are some scenarios where it's okay to break away. I mean, again, if you're going for a boost steal or something, and you know your opponents don't have boost, and it's a 2-on-2 or a 1-on-2, you might be able to leave your two teammates to defend, leave that sphere of influence, steal a boost, and then now you got a great counterattack on hand. So there's always going to be those like one-offs, but I think that's a cool way to visualize, or at least hammer home the idea of working as a unit rather than three individuals, because it allows you, in my opinion, to then trust your teammates a lot more, because you're like, oh, look, we're working as a circle. We're covering over there even though I'm not there. Cool, I can stay here because we do have this whole space covered right now.
I'm influencing the play without being in the play.
Exactly.
And it's definitely a concept that I think pro players have, but it's not something that at least all of them are consciously training. Like I'm not aware that I'm impacting the team even though I'm not in the play. And so I always, when I'm working with players, I say, you're no longer just for example, Yvonne, one of the last players you're no longer Yvonne, Rocket League player. You are, Yvonne, this position on the Evil Geniuses field, the roster or PSG roster. So we're essentially, we are the team, and everybody has a job to do. So I say it's a machine. If we're operating as a machine and one part of the machine isn't operating correctly, suddenly the machine is broken. So if we can all if we just focus on our job, we don't think about our teammates' job, we let them do their job. Like a lot of things that happen a lot of times is players will double up coverage, and it's like, I'm almost not expecting my teammate to do his job, so I'm going to come in and help him. And it's like, suddenly you're leaving a gap somewhere else that's punishable. Yeah. So now not only are we getting punished for this mistake, we're getting punished for another mistake on top of it. So if you're just trusting your teammate to do his job, if he doesn't do his job correctly, then we have these structures in place to make up for that mistake and then get him back into his position to do his job correctly again. And if you're just focused on yourself, you can take so much thought out of the game, where it's like, is my teammate going to do this? Is he going to do that? Is he going to do this? It's just one whole less thing to think about.
Now, if people are enjoying the theories, because I am right now, are you just going to be focusing on YouTube, or do you have your Twitch and stuff going as well?
So I'm mainly focusing on YouTube. I do stream from time to time. But live content, I've always found it difficult for me to do live content. I much prefer getting to curate exactly what goes out rather than like live. And so I still do Twitch here and there. But it's definitely, I've always been mainly focused on YouTube, because that's more of my passion, is getting to put out a project and not a live interaction.
Yeah. I mean, I'll link them both down below anyways. I mean, you're probably going to get more views than this will get anyways on your on your content anyways. But I know you said you didn't have much time, but I want to, before you go, I know there's a little bit of Citizen in you. When's the last time you played Star Citizen?
About 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
Just recently.
320 is a little buggy.
Yeah. From time to time, I hop in and the game is so beautiful. Like it's incredible. I'm not even getting on to play. I'm just getting on to spectate. Yeah. Like I get in the ship and I just start flying through space, and I'm like, man, like I would love to be out here for real. This would be so sick. And that's the closest I can get to it, is with Star Citizen, because it's so real. Like as soon as that game becomes like a augmented reality,
VR and stuff,
I'm uninstalling from life, and I'm gonna just like surrogate myself into Star Citizen.
That's amazing. Well, hey, it's by a time of recording, again, this will go afterwards, but at time of recording, I'm going to CitizenCon this weekend in LA, and they're looking like they might be launching some big stuff, and I think they're gonna have pyro playable, so a whole new star system at the venue. So it's gonna get even more beautiful, because those planets look freaking gorgeous. So Yeah, we got to at some point jump in again and just go out, do some salvaging or something. You ever played Power Wash Simulator?
Yes. Yep.
So salvaging is basically Power Wash Simulator in space. You're just scraping the hulls of ships, and it's so
That's cool.
satisfying.
Yeah, I got to get the what's really gonna get me into that game is a dual joystick setup. Is like if I can just sit down and like just like low fly on a planet through little terrains and like do the crazy stuff. I think I'll be playing that game like hours every single day. But those setups are not cheap, man. Like especially the nice ones. The nice ones are up there. So that's a pipe dream. But no, the game's beautiful. I mean, it's been in development forever, and it's probably going to be in development forever. But the stuff they're coming out with on that game is just insane.
Fingers crossed for Squadron 4. Hopefully by the time you guys are hearing this past weekend, we had a Squadron 42 release date. I don't think it'll be until 2025 for the single player game, but hopefully we'll get one. At least something put out there. Hey, anyways, I'm gonna let you go, Verge. It was a blast. Missed you, buddy. I'm glad that we got to sit down and chat. And hopefully we can get some space going on sometime soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me on. I appreciate it a lot. It was good catching up.
Hell yeah. And again, anybody that is watching, make sure to hit the follow button, the subscribe button, and go check out Verge. If you haven't already, go make sure you're consuming his content. He's a smart dude, and it's really fun, as you heard here, to listen to all the theories and ideas coming out of his face. So anyways, get in the Discord. If you want to continue the conversation throughout the week, links down below. That's my base of operations. You can talk to me directly there. We're always doing a lot of fun community stuff. So get in the Discord. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.